Oh my God, Evan, I can't handle it without that ginormous bottle of lube.
Well, I was going to come in with a nice little ho 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 ho, but you ruined that. It's Christmas time, Andy.
I know, and when I was 5, somebody I forget who it was, they were like, ho ho ho. And I looked up and I was like, don't call my mommy that.
I'm sure.
She's got another 25 years before you can do that.
Dude, this season has I feel like it gets faster every year. Like you're just like, "Oh, it's the holidays are coming up. You know,
It's the holiday
gotta start getting
season.
ready for that." And then you go to sleep and then you wake up and you're like, "Oh, it's next week. I thought I had 2 months."
If this is any indication of how fast life is going to go when we're 60, I understand why people can't remember shit. It's a blur. Or you don't have a chance to register it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's flown by. And
It's crazy.
I'm a little disappointed that we don't have any Christmas fair, any Yule here in the studio.
I was gonna hang some stockings or something, but kind of deciding to do a Christmas episode was kind of like a little last minute to just do it like Christmas themed. So maybe if we're still doing this next year, maybe we'll do it up. Get a little Christmas tree and put it here.
Yeah, I mean, well, you just let me know. I have Christmas trees of all sizes, and
You would. Did you see the village that I set up on our cabinets?
no.
You got to take a look at that.
You got to put it in a spot where it gets noticed.
Dude, it looks sick up there.
So we were down at Valley View last night. Have you ever been to Valley View?
Mm-mm.
You guys need to go down there if you get a chance.
I don't
It's
even
down
know
in
what
Hunt
it is.
Valley. That's exit 20 on 83 in
Yeah.
Baltimore County.
Yep.
So you get off the exit, go down to York Road, and then make a right, and it's there on the left.
Mm-hmm.
It's all Christmas right now. Every winter, they just it's a nursery, like a plant nursery. They just Christmas. It's like the Christmas place. They have the entire, what is it, apartment 59 or apartment 49? What a department?
It's a department store.
No, I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna stop trying. The little fucking building things. Ghostbuster Firehouse. Mr. Stay Puft is set up in the street with the 4 Ghostbusters around him. They have the entire Harry Potter village.
Damn.
They have bowling alleys. They have the Peanuts bowling alley. They have a mini Disneyland there.
Holy shit.
They have everything you would ever want. It's not cheap. 2 ornaments were $45, but it's a tradition for Kiddo and I to go down there every year, and we each pick out an ornament. And then when she's older and moves out,
Mm-hmm.
she'll take all of those with her.
That's nice.
Because I don't have to set up a tree anymore.
That's gonna. I was gonna start by doing our little gift exchange to kick it off, but I think I would like to go into.
You're gonna get killed.
The topic here, real quick, is what are some of your favorite Christmas traditions? Whether it was things that you did as a kid or things that you do now with your kid.
So that one's my favorite. And I think she thought I forgot about it this year because I waited until deep in December,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't say anything. And she's like, "Where are we going?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't even know where we are." I played like I was lost.
Yeah.
And then we pull up to Valley View, and she's like, and was just huge about it. Unfortunately, she did break an ornament yesterday. I felt so bad for her, but it happens. It's an accident. She's still a kid. But I guess some of my other favorite Christmas traditions. So Christmas has always been my favorite holiday. This is literally the first year in 10 that I have not put up decorations outside. I actually have, so one of my biggest traditions is tattooed on my arm. They're called cherry gems. They're little kind of shortbread-esque cookies with a candied cherry just pressed right into the middle.
Okay.
and my great-grandmother would make those especially for me. Like she would always make some of them and then mix them all together and then give everybody like a variety of cookies, but I always got my own special batch every year.
That's nice.
Until she stopped being able to bake. You know, we would remember going down to their house in Baltimore before my great-grandfather died, and he was a huge train collector. So, you know, Christmas and model trains is one of those things that just, for whatever reason, has always gone hand in hand. Everybody always has a train around the tree or something like that. Everybody's always looking for one. This is actually the first year in a few years that we haven't had a train around the tree, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's more because we now have a love seat over on that side, and I don't want the, you know, Lionel Hogwarts Express getting kicked off the track every 5 minutes because I'm like, stop, you know, that's a $500 set. I'm not trying to like just dump that to replace this. And I have several, like multiple different sets that we could put out. When I was up in York, we actually built a garden just like my great-grandfather used to, using all his old stuff that I had. So that's a huge tradition, is like, you know, the trains and the garden and just getting set up for Christmas. What else? Like, Christmas has just been huge in my family.
Yeah, I mean, we had traditions growing up where, like, we had a really awkward living room. Like, it was long.
Oh, awkwardly shaped.
Yeah, like, it was a decent size, but it was always really long. And we had this built-in bookcase on the one end. And we always had enough space for, like, the furniture and stuff and the TV and all the stuff that belonged in there. We had, it's crazy to me now, but we would always have this white riser. Like, it was, you know, like, yay high off the ground. It was, like, white. So we put it in the corner of the room, and that's what we put the tree on. So we had a tree that would go on there, and we had, like, the fake snow that my mom would put on there, and we'd have the train that would go around it, and she had this Christmas village that she would set up, like, on the back cabinets, and she had, like, everything. She had all the houses, the buildings. She had a little ice rink where they would, like, it was like magnets, and it would, like, move the people around on the ice.
Yeah. Those are awesome.
And, like, she would set it up like it was a little town. You know, she had the little fake trees, like the scenery and stuff. Like, she had all this kinds of stuff. And so I have that stuff now. So when we were going through all the stuff in the shed, she's had this stuff for 30-something years probably even longer than that. And she would always try and sell it at yard sales, but nobody would buy it. So fortunately, nobody would buy it, so now we have it. So now we started our own tradition where I set our kitchen cabinets up on top. I set up all of those trees and the buildings. So, like, I literally do it like I'm trying to tell a story with it. So, like, I have from one end to the counter, or one end of the cabinet to the other end, is all, like, the town buildings. You have, like, the fire hall, the post office, the inn, there's a church, there's a tree, there's, like, a little section where kids are getting pictures with Santa, there's a guy on a horse and buggy going through, there's a stop sign, there's lights.
Do you have the mounted policeman?
I don't have... No, I don't.
I know what I'm getting you next year.
But we have, like, somebody shoveling snow. We have the post. We have, like, the mailbox. I have carolers, and there's, like, a little ice rink. And then on the other side of our cabinets is, like, where the houses would be. So there's, like, the houses. There's kids building snowmen. There's a horse and buggy that go through there. And that's, like, specifically just, like, the houses and stuff. So, like, I always enjoy, like, we have the fake snow up there, too. So, like, it's fun for me to actually, like, set that up.
So, two things. The second one is really the relevant piece. Well, I came across it. That's Valley View.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, that's her standing there a couple years ago.
That's wild.
It's beautiful. But, so, along those lines, there were a good bit of photos out here from... So what you're describing, I think, is a lot kind of like that.
Yeah, it's something to that degree.
A little more ornate, but
yeah.
Because this is like, those were 30s, 40s buildings. They're not like all done
so
up.
we would do that and stuff, and then I remember it was at my grandma's house. She had a Santa that had this popcorn like string, and he would climb up this ladder. So it was just like this never-ending like Santa that was climbing up this ladder with this little popcorn string. For some reason, that just sticks in my head. I think she had one that rocked in a chair and stuff.
Yeah.
Just those like weird little things. We had like the ornaments and stuff like from when I was born, like my first Christmas. We have one for Lydia for her first Christmas. Ones that I made in like preschool, ones that I got through the years, like as a gift during Christmas. Like, I was big into the Carolina Panthers for a hot minute when Kerry Collins was the quarterback.
Probably still should be.
So, I have like, I think I have that. I have like Power Rangers. Like I have Spider-Man, old Batman, like stuff from that time. Like, and I still have it. We still hang it, on our tree to this day.
You mean the one that's not lit?
Yeah. We have all of those still hung up to this day.
Might want to deal with that.
Just my mom really did up Christmas, and it'll never be like that again because that's just an era that is just gone for good. But dude, like the way that I can remember the ways that the living room looked. It was just everybody had their own section, and it was just filled to the brim with presents because our house was the one to come to. So we had all my siblings that would come, their kids, all that stuff. Like all of them would come there, and like it just got super big.
I'm gonna give her a ton of shit. We can't even talk about Christmas traditions, and she just like, bye. I ain't dealing with this. This is taking too long.
So like that is always something that I'll remember. And another huge tradition that I used to have with my parents is every year they would give me one gift on Christmas Eve, like the night. And it would, like, that was just a thing that they did. And it was always something, small or something that would, keep me occupied, especially as I got progressively older. And for Christmas morning, in my stocking, there would always be a video game. Because they knew I would snoop to get my stocking in the morning early. So they started putting a video game in my stocking
to occupy you.
So I would go back and I would play that video game, and then they would come and get me when everything was ready. So that's those are some of my favorite like traditions that we had throughout the years. It wasn't we haven't had stuff quite at we didn't do it quite as big because my mom was always getting everything prepared for the holiday. But I mean, Christmases at our house were, man, if I can find some like good pictures, I'll put them in like the actual edited episode. And
she should have stayed down here to hear that because that's something that should be recreated this year. But
yeah,
just saying,
we try and we've started to get our traditions too. Like every year we'll go out and we'll pick a tree from a local farm, and we'll bring it home and set it up, and we have the kids with us and stuff like that. Like that's going to be a tradition for a long time for us. As much of a pain as it is sometimes, but
yeah, I think you should just get an artificial tree and call it a day. But
we probably will at some point, but I actually like taking the kids out. I think it's fun to do, especially with the kids.
It's even more fun when you can make them cut the tree down.
Well, yeah, that'll be fun too.
So we don't do a real tree, but I think it would be hilarious to have a situation where it's like, all right, And they're just like, what? Did you get a saw? What do we need a saw? Think it's going to come down itself? I mean, like, come on here. What are we doing? Are we growing up, or are we just, like, sitting here and letting Dad take care of everything forever?
Yeah.
Go hike back half a mile and get a saw. I would never really do that, but no, it's funny how it works out. Like, you think about it from the different perspectives, and the perspective that we're in right now, 30, 40 years from now, we are going to be that central piece with that entire family built around us, and Christmas will be very big again, and then we're going to be the ones that depart it, and the cycle starts over again.
Yeah, it's weird to think that, that is going to be what it will be like, because it will be, your kids bringing their kids to your house, and you'll have to do this big meal. And
well, no, I'll be in Florida, but or California or somewhere that I don't have to deal with 30 degrees and screaming children.
See, I like the colder weather versus like hot weather. I don't know. I just
California is not hot. It's also not cold.
I would never live in California.
It's like perpetually 75 degrees. It's lovely.
I would never, ever, ever, ever live in California.
That was way off key. Oh, fuck. Can I have that moment in time back?
Well, I guess I will
summon the Banshee.
Yeah.
Watch out. Basement door is going to open, and you're going to hear a big, loud shrill, and then this, like, wind is just going to come out of nowhere, and everything's going to blow off the shelf. No, she's a lovely lady. She's a sweetheart. If I get one more text asking what I'm doing for dinner and then told never mind, it just instantly is like, you didn't even give me a chance. Like, I had a chocolate junior.
Like the
tasty cake, yeah.
It's an odd one to have.
I love the chocolate juniors. But they come in a box of 4, but they're like bigger than like the Crimpets. I feel like more full.
Are those like the chocolate with the white frosting and then like a little squiggly?
It's 2 rectangular pieces of sponge cake topped with chocolate icing and stacked. It's literally just like any other tasty cake except just chocolate icing.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever had one.
Sign me up. Dude,
I always liked the butterscotch Crimpets.
Those
are what my dad would always have. Like my dad would always buy those, and that's just what I would be like, yeah.
Well, and tasty cakes will actually survive the apocalypse because they don't mold. And they don't really get hard.
She's not even gonna look at her phone, is she?
Hang on. Alicia! Damn it! That is not how you call your wife, but
that is how you call your friend's wife.
Yes. Because the spatula is still scraping the frying pan for whatever reason.
And the kitchen sink is still going.
Do you have an air horn? If you don't have an air horn, do you have a fire extinguisher? I found the coolest thing at Walmart. So you remember like the spray snow, like in the can that people used for when they're like trees, and it was like, shit, what the fuck did I do this for? This
or people would use it to like frost their windows, like fake frost their windows.
I used it for snow battles. It's not a snowball fight, but that's another thing. They now have snow bombs.
What?
It is a little, like, ball, shaped just like a bomb from Mario, with like the little cylinder top on it, and it's got on one end there's an opening, and you turn it, and it just goes poof, and it's white confetti that looks like snow. Every motherfucking where. Like, I will be vacuuming that until the end of time.
You know what I'm surprised wasn't a thing back in the day, but it is now? little plushy snowballs that you can throw at each other for a snowball fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, back then, could they really, like, had they figured out how to make them yet? Like, you could make it, like, by hand, but that's, if you have somebody making that by hand, it's probably like $10 a snowball versus like, oh, yeah, look, 1 penny. God knows we need it. I mean, there's never, like, it doesn't snow here ever anymore.
Babe! Do you want to see this or not?
So because she's coming down, I feel obligated to embellish this in any way possible, and I'm sure it's going to hit me.
What? Oh, this woman.
I'm sure it's going to hit me, but do I have to, like, do I need to cry?
What?
Do I need to cry if I'm not already crying? Like, is the expectation that I'm crying either way?
I believe that you probably
want to do that.
Will cry.
Well, we'll see. I hope so. I haven't had a good cry in a while.
I truly believe that you will shed a tear, but
well, I'm not doing it till your wife's here because she wanted to see it, and that's what Christmas is all about: is the family tradition.
Well,
hang on, you might want to mute this. Alicia! I'm having a goddamn heart attack, goddammit! It's all turning black. Tunnel vision. Oh! Wait. Somebody on 911. There's shorty fire burning on the dance floor. Ooh, oh. He was content when I was doing chores.
All right.
Is it me first or you first?
I will give you yours first.
Okay. Why we got to get that out of the way?
I will tell you one thing that you don't have to have in there, but I chose to put in there because I thought it was a nice little touch.
You going to tell me now or you tell me after?
I will tell you after, because if I told you now, it would ruin the whole thing.
This is obviously a photo of some sort, and it was very thoughtful because it is definitely, yeah, I guess I'll just open this and probably regret it immediately. It's facing down, so I'm going to flip it over. Here's a box. He ain't gonna ruin anything. He can't ruin anything. He's sweet. He's such a... Yeah, I'm probably gonna cry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Bronson's crying for you.
So incredibly thoughtful.
So you ended up, buying the game or whatever. So I was like, all right, I got to think of something to get you.
Alicia, thank you.
And I was like, well, he doesn't like fun. So
this is perfect.
What do I get him?
This is
so
perfect.
I just went and searched for something, and I was like, I had a thought in my brain that just kind of popped up. So I was like, all right, let's start here. And I was gonna get. They had like a little. It was like a little like kind of like a plaque that you would sit on on a desk, and it had like their picture that was like kind of engraved, and it had like a little thing that you could put. And I was like, oh, that's not bad. And then I was like, I'll see what else is there before I make a decision. And then there was like golf balls that you could get with it was like a stamp. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, because then you could like get a display for like a golf ball. And I was like, nah, let's see what else there is. And then that came up, and I was like, all right, let me read it. And I read it, and I was like, well, there you go. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the one.
I guess I'll show everybody.
Yeah, you can show everybody. And we can give a little context so people would understand.
Yeah, maybe. So it's this lovely poem and illustration with a photo of my recently deceased grandfather. So golfing, as you probably have heard from our banter on and off the course this year, was always a passion of mine. It was something that I did as a child, a teenager. My first real job was as a teaching professional at 2 different country clubs in Maryland. So there was a big passion there, and this man is the one who kept that burning all those years and, you know, just took me to the course relentlessly, played with me until he couldn't. And this year after he had passed, it was actually the Saturday prior to his passing, that following Sunday. Well, I think that was the first time we went out this year.
Yep.
Because I had taken, and I hadn't played golf in, I guess, 14 or 15 years. So this guy got me back into it. And I'm so glad that he did, because it's, this is exactly what he would have wanted. And thank you for knowing me.
You're very welcome.
This has a very special place on the wall in my office where I'll see it every day.
Yeah, I figured something nice like that would be, you know, if there's something that I like to do as the gift giver, I've done this on multiple occasions with, you know, my mom or my wife or whoever. I like to give something that goes that extra bit. That's something that, like, gives me joy for, you know, giving the gift. Like, anybody can go and give you, like, you know, something like silly or something as simple as something that you need or that's practical. And as I've gotten older, something that I really enjoy is when somebody just gets something. Like, if they're like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Like, give us some ideas. I don't give ideas anymore. I'm just like, I want you to just think of something that I would like and just get it. Because her parents are the ones that really, like, started, like they started to do that, where it was like they would get, like, we would give them a list and then they would get nothing on the list. But it was all like incredible stuff where it's like, I never would have thought of putting something like that on my list. You know, it's something practical or it's something interesting that's like, oh, like, I never would have thought about that. And it's one of my favorite things that I've ever received. And that's what I like to do as, like, a gift giver, is something that you're like, oh, wow. Like, I'm shocked that you thought of this, or I never would have thought about even getting something like this for myself. You know what I mean? Like, if you would have seen something like that out in public, like at a Hobby Lobby or something,
I would never buy this.
You would never buy it for yourself. You would see it and you're like, wow, that's really cool.
I would want it, but I wouldn't do it.
It's the same thing. Like, I've gone through countless stores and noticed countless things where I'm like, oh man, like, I would love something like that. And then I just forget about it.
Yeah. I mean, well, and so, like, to your point, I am very much in the same fashion where I don't think we asked a single person. I mean, I asked my daughter what she wanted because...
Pull your mic in a little bit more.
It kind of makes sense to ask her what she wants, but, like, everybody else, you know, I knew that we had to buy for whoever, and we didn't have to. We wanted to. I said had to, but we didn't have to buy for anybody. I didn't ask anybody. I was just like, well, except for maybe, like, Alicia. And that's because I was like, okay, jewelry or gift card.
Yeah.
Because the flexibility of a gift card with her, she, you know, shops at so many different places. It's like...
That's another thing, too, is, like, when people are like, oh, I don't want to get you just gift cards. It's like, sometimes that's just the move. Because you give the flexibility of going wherever, like, I may need to go.
Well, and you said food, and I was like... Dude, it made sense. Like that was right in front of me. I was like, okay. It was just a question of like, well,
can never go wrong there.
How much?
Can never go wrong there.
But the other thing that I like to do with giving gifts is to see something that somebody is like, oh, I like that. I want that. I'm not going to buy that for myself ever.
Yeah.
Or I don't feel like buying that for myself right now. Or even in a situation like, especially like my daughter, some of the gifts that she's getting aren't things that she would ever save up for.
Yeah.
Like, it would take forever and a day. And by the time she did it, she wouldn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And what I have in my pocket happens to be one of those little trinkets from me and her to you.
Well, thank you. I wonder what it could be.
I have no idea. I haven't even seen it yet, to be honest with you. So if that's like Leisure Suit Larry, I apologize. Not really.
Oh, dang. Came in a little case, too. Look at that. Props to the person that you bought this from for giving you the little protective case. This is Shining Force for the Game Gear that we were talking about last week. And now I am going to throw this in my Game Gear, and I'm going to play it. Well, not my Game Gear, but my Analog Pocket with the Game Gear attachment. Because I played Shining Force on the Sega for the first time it was this year. And I loved it. That game was a really interesting take on like the RPG genre. It was different. Like the amount of characters that you get is really like, it's unlike an RPG that I've played. I mean, maybe it's just because I haven't played that many, or I haven't strayed far from like the typical ones, but I really enjoyed it. So when I'm looking at Game Gear games that I would like to play, this was definitely top of the list. And the local game store was never going to sell it to me because they wanted ridiculous money for it.
That was ordered before I got up out of this chair last week. Like he said that, and I was like, yep, Christmas time. Okay. You don't want to buy it for that? All right, I'll buy it. And if you don't like it by chance, take it down to that game store and tell them you'll sell it to them for 10 under what they're selling it for. And then proceed to let them know that you made a profit.
Yeah, I am definitely looking forward to playing that. I'm excited. And I'm pretty sure that it actually is a remake of the first one.
Maybe.
If I remember correctly. I can't remember. When I was looking into Shining Force, when we did our episode on Shining Force, when we first started the channel. But, yes. One thing I really enjoy is, actually, we'll jump into another topic that kind of, it's almost, it's it's related to like the first one that we were talking about is, what is your favorite part of the Christmas season? Like, when it's time to get into Christmas mode, like, what are the things where you're like, yes, I'm looking forward to that? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as traditions, but not quite. They can be just like simple things of, just.
I mean, that's hard because this is like the first year that's really not been a thing for me. So I'm not going to dig into that one. We'll dig to something a little deeper that used to be like one of my favorite parts about Christmas that I discovered when I was a teenager. I really enjoyed the Black Friday rush and like everybody just like going ape shit against each other.
Dude, look, if there's one thing that it's weird to miss, it's definitely that. Because I've told, me and my wife were just talking about this the other day, because we were watching like reels on our phone, and one thing that was like things that'll never be the same again, and it was like a Black Friday rush of like people that were just like in line waiting, and they finally opened the doors and everyone just beelines it for what they're going for.
The line suddenly isn't a line anymore.
And like that stuff is like, that was a special time. Like, I have a story it's a very short one, but I
believe that when I hear it.
I think I was working at the time.
Well,
and I was on my way home, and I was like, oh wait, it's Black Friday. I was passing Walmart over there on the West End, and I was like, I'm gonna pop in there and see if there's any Black Friday deals or whatever. And so I popped in, and I was doing a walk around the store, and they would have the skids in the middle of the floor, just random aisles. And this was when Guitar Hero Live was like the thing to have. Like, that was like the most recent Guitar Hero. So I walked to the skid, and it had Guitar Hero Live, and it had the price sticker on it. And I was like, that can't be right. So I went. There was a employee over next to me, and I was like, hey, that can't be the right price for that. And he looked at it, and he was like, no, it's not. And I said, but if it's marked at that price, that's the price that you have to sell it to me for, right? Yeah. Cool. I grabbed it, and I was like, I'm ready to check out. It was like $140 something, like originally. I got it for $40.
Wow. Oh, that's a rip.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah. He immediately pulled the tag, and there was a lady right next to me too, who listened to me ask the guy.
And proceeded to grab
to grab the next one.
I mean, that's why it's so important that they mark things right. But
yeah, but dude, my mom back in the day, whew, she would be up, prepping for Thanksgiving, cooking all the stuff. It's where I get my procrastination from. So she would be up, early, and just be working like a dog all day long, cooking Thanksgiving dinner. After everything's done, everybody would help clean up or whatever, and then after everything was cleaned up, it was like, okay, I'm going to bed now. So she would go and like take a little nap, and then she would wake up and go out for Black Friday at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. She would stay out until about 8 or 9 o'clock in, the next morning. So I believe this was before me and Alicia were married, or it might have been very early into our marriage. My mom was going out Black Friday shopping, and Alicia was like, oh, I'd like to go. And everybody warned her, like, this is serious business you're stepping into. Like, just be warned. She's like, no, I can handle it. She was, like, texting me, like, it was, like, 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, of, like, I am so tired, and we are going to another store. I think they didn't get home until, like, 7 or 8 o'clock that morning, and she was like, never again.
Yeah, I mean, Black Friday, I actually worked at Walmart for a couple during high school, and then right after, like, there's a reason we don't do it like that anymore. Granted, I will give you that.
Dude, people died.
Yes. Then that's the reason. Like,
would get trampled and stuff, like.
Yeah, I mean, but there was just something like, I don't know, thrilling, I guess about like the idea of.
It's just that like little bit of excitement Like, it just gives you, like, nothing beats, like, walking into a store for something that you are looking forward to getting. You know, whether it's a new video game, a new movie, just something. A new TV, something exciting.
Except actually getting beat while you're trying to do it. Just to point that out, like, is the obvious statement right there. Because I've definitely seen that shit go down.
Yeah, I mean, I remember driving, like, the highway and seeing the store's parking lots. And there is not a single part of pavement that is exposed. It is just a sea of cars. But the crazy thing about, you know, how Black Friday is like, when Black Friday comes, people are still going out in droves. It still gets busy. It's just not as hectic.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but it's hard to look forward to something like that when you just know, like, I could have just gotten that in mid-October.
Well, for a world that lives so
on the
fast,
internet.
well, on the internet, but also so fast paced, like, we're doing everything and anything we can every day, all day, and for us to take the one day that was, like, set aside for everything to be a rush and say, oh, we'll take it easy. It's like, the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
My favorite Black Friday story actually dates back to 2005. It was, I guess, the first Black Friday that I had worked. And so this guy, the other thing he liked to do other than golf was baseball. That's obviously not in November. But he liked to shoot pool. And we did not live in a place where we could have a pool table for the longest time. And in 2004, we moved up to Pennsylvania, and they finally had a place where it would be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2005, for Black Friday, Walmart used to do this thing where during the Christmas season, they would give you an extra 10% off on top of your employee discount on one item.
Mm-hmm.
I used that to get him a relatively inexpensive pool table. And then I drove up from down in Hampstead up to the house and picked him up to take him out to lunch because I had just gotten my license as well. And he had no idea. And while I was doing that, I think it was my then stepdad went to the house and built it in the basement. So we rolled back in, and he was like, oh, Steve's here. I wonder what he wants. And we go in through the garage and into the basement, and it's right there. And he was just like, it was like that moment that I just had, like, all over again. And, I mean, that was one of the few times I ever actually saw him cry.
Yeah.
And he just turned around and, like, buried his head. Because at this point, I mean, he was all, 5'7", and I'm, at that point, 6'2". So he's just, like, head in the chest. And,
yeah.
And that's one of the best Black Friday memories, best Christmas memories I ever had.
Yeah.
But Black Friday, made that possible because you got a $600 pool table for like $220.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one thing I always wanted as a kid but never got. I had like a mini pool table, but we never had the space for it at our house, so it was just never in the cards.
It's hard. I mean, they're not small.
No. I'd love to get one for the basement, but I think about having to carry a pool table down those stairs, and I'm like,
So, I mean, it depends on what you get. They have Slate, and then they have Slate Tron, and then they have Slate Alternative, which is really just like very, 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 very compressed particle board.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest to play on, but if you're not like a league player, you're not really worried about it. It lasts.
See, I get in my own head about stuff like that, where like I'm too dig into it kind of guy, where I'm like, I don't want to get the worst, but I don't feel like I have to get the best. I like to be in like that middle of the road, even if I don't have to be. I'm still like until I talk myself into being like, you can just get the regular thing.
Well, and to be fair, at this point in my life, I've moved enough pool tables to where you should not call me if you do get one. But they're not like his wasn't super to do, obviously, at that price point. So, and it was light.
Yeah.
Like you'd be shocked at how the two of us were just like, huh! And right on out.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, the older I get with, especially like the older my kids get, like you can start to do things with them, and it's actually enjoyable to the fullest. You know, sharing your interests and stuff with your kids is always fun, but when they're little, it can be a little frustrating sometimes because they don't understand, they can't grasp it yet. It's just like they're not quite there yet. And when they do get there, and you're like, yes, or, you know, it comes up on where they're in school, they're becoming more independent, they don't want anything to do with their parents, they're up in their room doing God knows what, they're hanging out with friends, and, like, the house is empty or whatever, and I could be like, hey, man, Friday night, come on over, let's have a beer or something, let's shoot some pool.
You know, I like that idea. Where were you thinking of putting that?
Right on the other side.
And I mean, it's open rafters, so we could theoretically wire a light pretty easily.
Easily.
How big's your truck?
Big enough.
Duly noted.
So another one of my favorite things about the Christmas season is I hate the music. I'll just get that. I used to work.
You were just singing it.
It gets stuck in my head because I hear it so much.
So how do you?
But I used to work in grocery stores as a young adult, and that just it just ruined it for me. It absolutely ruined Christmas music for me. So that is just one thing I can't get behind. But I like it. It's weird because I never thought I'd be this way, but like I enjoy you know, doing the stuff for my kids, like making like the things special for them. Like I like that kind of stuff.
Magic.
Yeah, like the Christmas magic. What are some of your favorite Christmas movies?
Real quick before we get to that.
Oh, God.
Get that jazz swing. The weather side is right.
All right, don't get us copyright stricken.
I don't think that... can you copyright Let It Snow anymore?
I don't know.
I mean, like...
There's a will, there's a way.
And if anybody will figure out it's Michael Bublé. Favorite Christmas movies? I mean, if you don't like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, what are you doing?
I mean, it's the best Christmas movie. It has to be.
Shooter's full!
Like, it's easy. I could watch it not during Christmas time and enjoy it.
I hope you're not emptying that into a public storm drain.
I love when they go out and they're looking at he looks in like the drain and it's just like, what's in there? And it's like a glowing green.
Yeah. The escapade with the lights, like, you know, where like they're all wired up and just jacked into this one fucking switch, and it's like there's one random ass switch in the back, and
they're trying to find out why it's not lighting up,
and everybody has one of those switches in their house.
Yeah,
where it's like, what is this? What does it do? Why is it here? It does not make sense. And you like flip it and it switches an outlet that's like 3 miles down the street and across the road.
I love when he gets so frustrated he starts kicking the Santas that like the little reindeer and stuff. And then it lights up and it has that close up of his face where he's just like,
well, yeah. And like the when they're in the office and his interaction with the CEO, it's so on point. And the CEO is just like, whatever you said, just get it on my desk. And he's like, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Kiss my ass. Kiss his ass.
Kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Hallelujah.
I love one of my favorite parts is because it used to be a soundbite in this like deathcore band. They did Carol of the Bell. I think it was Carol of the Bells. And
Ding fries are done.
It's when he's like, and when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down the chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
And the turkey.
When the dog burps and like, and then the blessing.
The blessing.
Say grace. Grace. She died 40 years ago.
Dude, I need to go home and watch that.
It's the best.
Well, in the Neighbors?
Where are you going to put that? Bend over and I'll show you. I wasn't talking about you.
The Neighbors?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he cuts down the tree outside after the other one gets lit on fire when the dude lights his cigar. And it crashes into the neighbor's window. And their carpet gets all wet.
Dude.
It's the best Christmas movie, man.
Well, I mean, they open up with the, like, cutting of the Christmas tree, and they're, like, in a fucking station wagon going up to, like, the top of the mountain to get a Christmas tree, and that's where the whole saw joke originates. Like, do you have a saw? And it's like... And then, like, he's...
The kids are all frozen.
Yeah, and, like, so, like, this, you know, he gets passed on the left on a 2-lane road by, you know, somebody who obviously doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay. And it's like, you know, they just, like, go back and forth, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, it's like, oh, shit, we're out of road.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And then, are you sure... when it shows them driving and they have the whole like roots of the tree too as they're going down.
And then he cuts the cord on the tree after they get inside and it goes through the front window and it's like, well,
little fool, lot of sap. Oh man, it's the best,
dude. And that's like just one of the good ones. So like,
I mean,
Home Alone 1 and 2.
Yeah, Home Alone 1 and 2 are... I think the second one is better than the first one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
But I mean, Home Alone 1 is still fantastic.
You need that premise, though.
I just love the quotable parts in the second one. Because the second one is when they go to the house and Harry falls through the holes and he lands and... He gets up and straightens out his back.
You better
and he's
say
like,
it right.
Wow, what a hole!
Or like with Marvin's "Suck Brick Kid."
Oh, that's one of my favorite parts. Because fucking Harry just gets beamed by like what 2 or 3 bricks. Because Kevin's just tossing him down, and it's just boom.
Or the battery charger on the frickin' faucet where he goes to wash his hands.
Yeah. And you can see the skeleton with his hair and everything.
Yeah, like it's the 3 phases
and
of it.
The rope where he's like tugging on the rope and the bag of cement comes down.
Well, and then the other rope where he lights it.
Yeah. And then Marv gets his head set on fire and puts it out in the toilet. That ends up being what, gasoline or lighter fluid or something like that? Kerosene.
Yes. And like, what was the tool chest?
That
sounded like a tool chest falling down the stairs.
The paint cans.
Well, yeah, and more importantly, like the pipe after they figured out the paint cans, because it was like, watch this. And it's like, okay, now we go. Boom! I mean, the first one was good too, like with where he sticks his head through the doggy door and he's like, "Hello."
Yeah. Yeah, the first one's good, but the second one, there's just something
and the Little Caesars guy in the
really
first one?
special about that.
The Little Caesars guy that like drives up and just like plows through the statue. It's like,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, A Christmas Story. That's a classic, certified classic.
Angels with Filthier Souls.
Yeah, yeah. Christmas Story.
Ya.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
But my Tommy gun don't.
Ralphie in the.
I never got into a Christmas Story.
Oh man, that was always.
It was a good one, but
it's not as quotable as the ones that we just mentioned. Another one that is a banger here in our house is Bad Santa.
Badder Santa is better.
Well, is that the uncut version of Bad Santa?
Oh yeah, and it's fucking hilarious. She will not see that until she's 30, but
dude, that is the one of
you ain't gonna shit right for a week.
The best is when he's eating his salad in the food court, and the mom and kid walk up to him, and he like has that look like, here we fucking go. And then the kid walks up and says to him, he's like, I'm on my fucking lunch break, dude. He has salad coming out of his mouth, and she's like, what is wrong with you?
Well, and like, yeah, so kind of pivoting the other direction on that one, Peanuts Christmas is very near and dear to my heart.
I can appreciate it, but it wasn't like a big. It wasn't a big one for me.
Like all those old cartoon.
The
movies,
old cartoon ones were
Frosty.
Yeah,
like
Frosty, Rudolph with the Heat Miser and Mr. Snow.
Yes,
Yeah.
and what were the other ones? What do we watch when we were growing up? Shit. Oh well, no, this is a new one. So the Christmas Chronicles movies are actually really, really good.
Is that the Netflix
Kurt
ones?
Russell?
Oh yeah. Alicia watched those. I didn't. I think I watched the first one, but I didn't really watch it.
You need to watch them. They're good. They're really good.
I might have seen.
Belsnickel might be watching.
I don't know what the fuck that means.
You'll find out. And my favorite Christmas movie that isn't a Christmas movie, that is a Christmas movie, that isn't National Lampoon, was a Krampus.
We just watched that the other night.
Good. I love the Gingerbread Man and the Hook.
Yeah.
And the Jack in the Box.
Yeah, that was a really good movie. I liked that one. I think we saw that in theaters.
I'd like to see it in real life.
Just imagine like falling asleep in the living room, like watching TV or whatever, and like you wake up and there's gingerbread men fucking tying you up with a chain to drag you up the chimney.
Yeah, if that was even a possibility in this world, I would just carry my gun everywhere and like I'd probably just.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I don't think anybody could ever make a better. We have a little mini poster of it hanging on the wall over there. Uh-huh. I have it on VHS, and it's like it's basically sealed.
Merry Christmas, hallelujah.
Where's the Tylenol?
Poing.
It's the best Christmas movie. It does not get better than that. The Jelly of the Month Club, like it's the typical waiting for that nice fat bonus and basically spending like you're gonna get it and then not getting it, and you're like, oh. like you just talked about. Yeah.
I actually let her see parts of it last year. I don't think she got it yet though.
Christmas Vacation?
Yes.
Oh man. We tried to get Lydia to watch it, but she was just like, I'm gonna. She's fine. She's watched worse. She watched Beetlejuice 2 in the theater.
You do you.
What are some of your favorite Christmas memories? So whether it's something that somebody did for you, a gift that you got as a kid, as a young adult, as a teenager, what are some of your favorite memories from Christmas?
Well, I already shared the one. I have a ton of like good Christmas memories with kiddo, like, you know, all the way back to her second Christmas. I mean, she got a drum set, and you know, like I obviously was shared custody, so that was my afternoon year.
Yeah.
So I went to get her, and her drum set was set up in the dining room with a big bow on it, and you know, little her in her red dress just like comes running in and stops, like dead stop. Drum set? I hated my life for the rest of the night, but it was a good hate. And then like the year that she got her keyboard, she had been taking piano lessons because we have a piano, but she had been asking for a keyboard because, you know, she wanted something she could take somewhere with her, so she could have it like at her mom, she could take it with her.
Yeah.
So she came downstairs in our house, and that was the year with that train garden that I showed you and everything, and she like rounded the corner and she saw like all the other gifts. She didn't really see it, and then she kind of like turned and saw the keyboard, and she just like put both hands over her mouth and like, you know, started tearing up. And memories like that, I mean, it's always cool to see, you know, the children satisfied with what Santa brought them.
Yeah, because like that's a big thing as a parent is you worry that it's not enough. Even though like you could spend all the money in the world and get them 1,000 gifts, but you're like, is it still good enough? Because you always want to provide the best for your kids.
And this is a good point for me to bring this part up. One of the things that I've done as a parent and have done for as long as I can remember is that like you can get a bunch of gifts, right? Mm-hmm. Santa only brings one.
Wait, what?
Santa only brings one of them.
You
get to tell Santa one thing. I mean, or you can give him a list. Like, you give Santa a list. He brings one. And he brings one to every child. And that way, the kids whose parents can't give them the world don't have to listen to kids at school saying, Santa brought me 30 things. And... you know, does Santa not love me as much? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, let's equalize this a little bit. They can still get what they get.
Yeah, I'd never thought of it that way.
And it's always the big thing.
I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, especially nowadays. Like, I feel one, like keeping like that magic, like you say, alive is going to be much more challenging. And as much as I hate to dog other people for like how they handle their kids, is, man, there are some really half-ass parents out there.
Dog them. I'm going to say this out loud. This is a PSA. If you are one of the parents that shares Santa's story and you don't explain to them that their job is to not fucking ruin it for other people, you're the problem.
Yeah, and the thing that I hate is like the realist parents who are like, they don't want to.
We shouldn't lie to our children.
They don't want to be a parent, so they're just like, yeah, like, and they just like shove off their kid. They're like, I got stuff to do. Go watch more TikTok. And like that kind of stuff, man. Like that, because then that kid just goes and says all the shit to your kid and is just like growing up to be an absolute.
I mean, that's what. So that's literally why I said this year is different than last year, because that's what happened last year, and that was like, okay, now it's not a bad thing, and I'm not really going to dive into all of that on air because I don't know what ears are around or anything like that, but
yeah,
it is different. Like, it becomes very different, and
yeah,
I'm not saying it's less fulfilling because this year has been entirely fulfilling, but it's in a different way, and I don't know.
I can imagine like that first year is like very difficult.
Well, and when it happens 7 days before Christmas, you get pissed.
Well, yeah. I can see why.
Especially when, it's some snot-nosed brat on a bus trying to act like they're all cool, and it's like, how cool are you? You just, redefined your friend's life.
Basically, yeah. I mean, it's one thing for them to figure it out themselves, where they're just like, I have a hunch. Is that hunch correct? And you're just like, what's your hunch? Like, I saw a thing. It was actually kind of like touching. It was a like a indoor like camera like footage. This dad was like doing something, and his son comes in, and he goes, "Dad," and he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I have a question." He's like, "What's that?" And he asked him, the thing, and he goes, you see the dad hesitate for a minute, like, and he like looked at his dad. He's like, "Dad, I'm pretty sure that it's you, correct?" And he goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "It's always been you." And the dad was just like, "Yeah," and he goes, and then like the son goes, "Thank you," and hugs him, and I was like, "Damn." And then it like they end their hug or whatever, and the dad's like, "Don't tell your brother."
I see, and that's like last year. I wish I could have had a camera on it, because it was a similar thing, like, after the bus ride, and it was like, I think this, and I'm like, well, yes and no.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'm like, it is me, and it always has been me, but it's also you.
Yeah.
And it's your friend that knows, and it's your mom, and all of my friends, and everybody else, because it is very real, but it lives in each and every one of us each and every year.
Yeah.
And, like at that point, it was just kind of like mind blown, like, wait a minute, what about this? 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 And
yeah.
like she just starts listing off all the things over the years, and I'm like, yeah, yep, uh-huh. And then the last thing was the drum set, and I was like, picked it up at Guitar Center.
It's incredible, though, that, they will remember that stuff. That is part of just doing the whole thing and doing it the way that you should, is because when you look back on, your memories as a kid and stuff like that, and you're just like, you can remember all of them.
Yeah, no, I can take you way back. Like I can, I don't know that I have a photographic memory.
I will give you one, and I have done it for her up there. Actually, we did it last year. So the one year when I was real little, I think I was probably 3 or 4, maybe I was 5, and my sisters and my brother, they had friends that were really involved in my life. And so the one year, it was, nighttime. It was time for me to get ready for bed. So I had a top bunk at one time. So I was in a top bunk, and I was laying in my bed, and we lived in a rancher. So it was easy to get onto the roof, especially from the other house's yard, because it was raised. So, and we had a retaining wall. So I remember hearing like thuds on the roof, followed by bells. And I was like, huh? And I remember going out, like my sister and her friend came in and told me to come outside, and there was chewed up carrots and stuff that we would sit out for the reindeer. And I was like, what? Like I remember like everything about it. And, hearing about like that as an adult of like what that was what it was actually, and I was like, wow, that was really the extra mile. Well, come to me as a dad when, little one was in bed and asleep, and, we had just finished up doing all the final stuff that we needed to finish up, and, I'm doing the cookies with the milk, and I always leave a little letter for her, like a little note. And I have saved those notes, but we went outside, and I literally was sitting there with baby carrots, chewing them up, and just like chewing them and just
dropping them, yep,
spitting them into the fucking. So when it was time in the morning, she went outside and she was like, wow, like they ate the carrots too. And I was like, man, like, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, because that's one thing that I'll always remember is, doing that for my kids.
Yep. Well, exactly. I mean, and like, I have, like, I can still see things from when I was 3.
Yeah.
Like, I can see the yellow and blue, 4-wheeler Power Wheels in that living room, sitting there amongst all the other toys, and like it's just it's a magical moment that, and it's funny because it's almost like a trauma response, but it's not trauma, or you wouldn't declare it trauma, but
no, like back to the original like question of like favorite just like memories, like you said, like you can still remember like the Power Wheels or whatever. Like, man, I remember the one year when we got these. I don't know if it was a real toy or not. It had to have been because I remember it vividly. We got these Godzilla dinosaurs that you could fill with water, and you would press a button and it would shoot like, it was like steam out of their mouth. It wasn't like steam, but it was like
a mist.
A mist. But I remember that so well, and I was like, I've tried to find these things, and I cannot find it for the life of me.
Well, you remember Mr. Bucket?
No.
It's like a little white bucket thing that wheels around on the floor and spits balls out, and you have a shovel. You have to pick it up and put it back in the bucket.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
When you're really young.
Yeah.
I have one of those.
I remember the year that I got my first guitar. This was when I was probably like in my early teens, like 13 or 14.
15?
13 or 14.
I think you were 15. 13-year-old you with a guitar seems.
When my parents got it, like I knew the spots to like snoop for gifts.
Right.
And they had a waterbed, and in the
like
at the bottom there was like this double door that would open, and it was like a narrow space that would go the whole way to the back.
Yep.
So I would look under there, and of course the one time I looked, there was a guitar box. So
you little shit.
When they would leave, I would go and pull it out, and I would play it. It was it was a black and white electric. I think it was a Jackson. That I had.
That's
and
awesome.
I remember, and then when they gifted it to me, I had to pretend like I didn't know, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And they were like, "You knew, didn't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would go in and."
Don't talk about the elf, Kirsty.
I don't do that. No,
I did. And I don't want to talk about it. So one of my, I won't say my best Christmas memories, but like my most vivid Christmas memories is actually more of a Christmas Eve memory.
Uh-huh.
So my senior year or senior year of high school, I took my girlfriend back home after she came over on Christmas Eve, and I was going back to the house, and I drove a 96 Firebird, and I was like, why not? I got pulled over for doing over 100 in a 50 by a state trooper in Maryland, who approached the car with a, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" And I was just like, going too fast. He's like, "What's your dad's number?" And I'm like,
we don't know how to do that.
Yeah, he took it. He went back to his car. I don't know how the exchange went, but I didn't give him my dad's number. I gave him my stepdad's number because my stepdad was a cop at that point. So it was like, maybe I'll give him this one because this might help. But I got home and I already had my license out of my wallet, and I was just like, "Here, I know you want this." And I saw myself to my room because I just got a warning for doing 50 over and a 50. And I don't know if there's any other warnings in the state of Maryland that have ever said that.
Yeah.
But 10 minutes later, they came in my room, threw my license on my bed, and said, "You obviously know that it was wrong, so don't do it again." And it's proof where if you face the truth and recognize that maybe I shouldn't have done that shit.
Yeah.
They're like, "Okay, you've learned." That is the whole point.
Yeah.
I've done that since then, but
I remember getting like the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo 64. Like those were big Christmases for me.
Yeah.
And I remember, dude, one of the funniest things, like thinking back to those times, is when you're opening those gifts and you see, like, you didn't see it at the time, but your parents had to be like, "No, not that one. Yeah, that one. Open that one first." And then, like, when you get to that one, it's because that one was the game that went along with the console.
Can't give away the giveaway.
Yeah. There was a video that I saw. It was these kids back in when the Super Nintendo was a thing. They opened a Super Nintendo game, and they looked at each other and they looked at their grandparents and they were like, "We don't have a Super Nintendo." And they're like, "Yeah, that goes into the Nintendo, right?" And they're like, "This is for a Super Nintendo." And they're like, "Oh, we must have got the wrong one." And the kids were like, and they were like, "Well, why don't you just see if that one will go into your Nintendo?" So the kids go down like to the downstairs and they have the Super Nintendo box that's sitting like on like the entertainment stand, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Like the kids are freaking out, and of course you hear the grandparents like, "Well, that's for you guys to share." The people that explain the gift like as they're getting it.
So my mom used to do this huge Christmas Eve party every year. And I mean huge. Like, I mean 100 people.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like it was like everybody that she knew.
Yeah.
I have no idea how she did it or why she did it, or I think that was actually a different woman. But that's another story in its entirety. But I always got my gifts from her usually like once I was older, like say like 7, 8 that night, because we'd be at the party and it made sense. I'd see her and then go back home for Christmas. But the year I got the PlayStation, I actually opened Need for Speed first, and she turned around and she was like, "Oh shit, that wasn't for you." And
they have to pretend and
I was
play
like,
it off.
And I was like, "Huh?" And then I handed it back to her, and I was like, "I don't have a PlayStation anyway." And then she's like, "Go get the one in the corner." And that was the PlayStation. And I opened that, and I was like, "You got me a PlayStation and get me a fucking game to go with it?" And she's like, "This is actually for you." And I was like, "Oh. Why do you got to mess with me like that, Mom?" And like, I don't know. I was a very unique child, but...
You're still unique to this day, Andy.
I didn't deny that. I definitely have a special view on the world, but no, it's just so many. Like even younger than that, going to like my aunts and uncles' houses who I haven't talked to in well, I guess 7 years because it's been that long since the funeral. But we like go over there and see like these goofy decorations where like something like, Santa's hiding in the corner and he's hiding his eyes, and it's like this stuffed thing, and like I'm looking at it like, this thing's my size. It's creepy. Why am I here? Get it away from me. Is this buttered sausage? Let's talk about buttered sausage. What's it doing? Why is it here?
That is the stupidest clip that I have ever seen.
That's what nightmares are made out of. Let's talk about buttered sausage. Buttered sausage. What's it doing? Why is it here? Get it away from me. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christmas as a whole...
I don't like jam. I buy honey. Can I kiss it on the lips?
Oh, shut up. Christmas as a whole is just one of those times of year where it's very easy to make memories if you just take the time to make them. That you're not just
that cookie.
A giant... Oh, nice. You're not just a giant turd all the time.
Oh, shit.
And just enjoy it. Don't get so stressed out. Don't think that you have to go above and beyond to make it special. It's the traditions that make it special. It's the family that makes it special. It's how you spend the time. Come on over, everybody.
Now we got a whole crew down here. Bah, humbug. I'm Ebenezer Scrooge. What are you doing?
Lydia, come under here.
Step through. You will be forever emblazoned on the internet now. I am disturbed that you have not requested prior authority to show your face.
You too, over there. Get in here.
Get in here. You want me to yell again?
Come on. Come on in.
You gotta lean on me. No, see, there you are. Oh, pinky down. You just lean on me.
Lean on me.
Lean on me. When you're not strong.
Okay, quit.
Here. Give me a little.
I caught it. Wait, no, I didn't catch it. I caught it. I caught it again.
Oh.
You gonna lean on me now? This is the one I yell at all the time. Did you do the elf? I saw mommy kissing Santa
While this child is crying, we're all just going to say Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa.
Get in there a little bit more. There we go.
Feliz
there we
Navidad.
Go. Now,
That's a picture frame.
Now, on the count of 3, everybody's going to say Merry Christmas nice and loud for everybody. 1, 2, 3. Merry Christmas! And now you can lead us out, Andy, like every other episode.
Until next year,
we're Dad's Game Room. Bye.